From Mountain Home to Raft River, we've got all the District 4 analysis you'll need to know. This is the Magic Valley Prepcast with Scott Burton.
That's right. Welcome in another edition of the Magic Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com, talking the biggest stories in District 4 athletics and activities week in, week out in the great state of Idaho. We are coming to you live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, and X account. You can also watch the Magic Valley Prepcast on replay anytime at those three destinations. You can also listen to the Magic Valley Prepcast at IdahoSports.com or your favorite podcast app. Download and subscribe to the Magic Valley Prepcast on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, etc. My name is Brandon Baney. Let's bring in the man of the hour. Hey, batter. What's up, Scott Burton?
Yo, Brandon, what's going on? It's a beautiful spring day right now, which means that third winter is not too far along. We're gonna have that before it's all said and done. But a gorgeous day right now.
Yes, I am holding off on swapping out my snow tires for the all season because I know as soon as I do it, Scott, it's gonna dump one last time. So
yeah, and I don't know what the temperature is right now, but I'm sitting in my garage. You know, in the man cave. I've got to my left the main garage door open. That's the light coming in. And for the first time, I'm hot. It is toasty. And of course, beautiful weather, and we don't have a game. Isn't that the way it works?
That's how it goes.
Yeah. Hey, batter. And I put that there because obviously we're going to be talking about baseball and softball. But, you know, do you remember back in the day when that was kind of the culturally acceptable thing to do, is scream your lungs out at the batter as they're hitting? Yes. Remember those days? And then, hey, batter, hey, batter. And then the ball gets pitched. And what do you do when that ball gets there? Swing! And you basically just try to scare the batter into having some sort of attack and swinging the bat. I was just thinking about that. It's like, okay, we're going to go, hey, batter today.
Yeah, I like it. You know, you said that, and immediately I thought of Ferris Bueller's Day Off, that great movie from the 80s where they cut school, and nobody should cut school, but they cut school, and they went to the Chicago Cubs game, and hey, batter, Kennedy, swing, batter.
Swing, batter. Yep.
Yeah,
yep.
So
exactly.
A classic there for sure. You know, softball keeps the chatter going throughout the games. I think that's what I enjoy about softball from the dugouts. It's back and forth. Both teams just constantly chanting something.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's almost like there's as much work put into the chants as there is to some of the skill set at times. But man, I'll tell you what, they're on point with a chant for everything. And back when we played, I mean, it was all little league maybe. And then it stopped because it's not like the manly thing to do. But it was like rally on two, rally on two, rally on two. That's the only one I remember. And I think that stopped after T-ball. But
well, the problem is you couldn't figure out what the next number was. What comes after two?
That's true too. And that could have been true all the way through Little League. I don't know.
Yeah, well, 3 outs are needed to retire the side in baseball. Scott, if you can't count past 2, our first story today might be problematic because, boy howdy, on the baseball field last week between Mountain Home and Jerome, the Mountain Home Tigers pitch an 8-0 shutout over the Jerome Tigers. But in the process, Scott, they throw a combined no-hitter. Trey Morse did 98% of the work, and then Andrew Chapman came in for the final out. But between the two of them, 7 innings of work, no runs on no hits, no errors. The only blemish separating the no-hitter and the perfect game, Scott, was 1 walk issued by Trey Morse.
Yeah, it had to be, we could have found another game. But I mean, this kid is the real deal. I mean, we talked a little bit about him last year, and he was going to be a guy that we were going to hear about. I mean, he's a kid that committed to Gonzaga, his sophomore year. So this has been a product in the works, for the next level. But, this is a kid that has got every component physically, skill set, and mentally to play at the next level. I mean, this is a generational player.
Yeah, he's been a lot of fun to watch over getting to the end of his career. So in this combined no-hitter, 8-0 win, Trey Morse pitches 6 2/3 innings. So basically everyone except the last out. 17 strikeouts, Scott, against just one walk. He faced 23 batters. 17 of them retired via the K. And then Andrew Chapman comes in, and what does he do to the one batter he faces? Strikes him out. So 18 combined between the two.
Yeah, and it's a pretty easy job coming in when you're Chapman there, to get the one out after, Trey hits the pitch count. And, you talk to the people that know this guy, and the first thing that they'll tell you a couple things. I talked to a few different people about Trey, and here's what they all said in common. Number one, he works hard. He goes above and beyond what the practice schedule is. He's good and he knows it, but he's also not the arrogant kind. He's a very quiet kid, just a consummate baseball player. He holds people accountable. He gets after them. He encourages them, and he works hard. And he's the kind of teammate that, his teammates don't want to let down. They want to play for him, and there's something to be said about that too, because, I saw a game yesterday where the defense behind the pitcher was atrocious, and sometimes you get into situations to where you're a little bit more focused because of who's on the mound, right? And you don't want to let that person down. And Trey's that guy. And when you got a team playing behind you, man, that makes you dangerous. Granted, maybe they don't see a whole lot of action because he's striking everybody out, but that goes to speak to the kind of teammate that this kid is.
Yeah, it's really been fun to watch Mountain Home in baseball these past couple of years, because now we're getting down to the end of the regular season, Scott. I can't believe I'm saying that, but there's not a ton of runway left here, and you've got this really interesting 3-team race with Burley, Twin Falls, and Mountain Home. Before we get to that, though, I forgot. We do have a video here, Scott. This is going to be like an episode of Sesame Street. Count the number of strikeouts. 1, 2, 3. We're just going to...
one strikeout.
Yeah, the footage is a little grainy, but you'll get the gist quickly. Here are all of the strikeouts that Mountain Home recorded against Jerome.
Oh, man.
And we can give our commentary. There's a swing and a miss. And another swing and a miss. I want your thoughts on this one, Scott, because that was a curveball that dropped in there on the inner half. That was a pretty good one. And there's another one. So that he had that bender working well.
Well, and here's the thing about his game, though. I mean, when he is throwing straight fastballs, I mean, he sits, in the low 90s. 90, 91 kind of is where he is normally. I mean, he can touch 94. But the thing that makes him so good is not just his control. He's got really good control, but his ability to change velo. I mean, this guy can go from throwing low 90s to dropping a curveball or a change down into the mid 70s. And think about that. And if you've never played baseball before, well, I mean, I played baseball in college, and I'm going to, and I tell you that one of the hardest things in all of sports, no matter what sport it is to hit a baseball. And it is the one game that is designed to make you fail, and you win by failing the least, right? I mean, it's a very weird dichotomy, but on the pitcher's mound and from a hitter's perspective, anybody can step up there and throw hard. But number one, can they locate their pitches? And number two, can they change their speeds? That's the big thing right there with pitching. And he does that. I mean, when you're talking about almost a 20-mile-an-hour difference between one pitch to the next, as a hitter, you don't know what's coming. And you don't have that much time to react anyway. But when you're throwing low 90s, I mean, you are just reacting with your hands, and you're trying to throw it at the ball, but now all of a sudden you just saw a 92, 93 mile an hour fastball. Well, here comes something that drops off the table at 75, and you're so far out front that you have no timing whatsoever. That's what makes this kid good, and he's only going to get better as he progresses to the next level.
Yes, and we saw it in the montage. There was a lot of high heat, that high fastball. He had some like curveballs, and I'm assuming they're curveballs. Like they could have been sliders. I mean, we were so far out, zoomed out, but breaking in on the right-handed hitter, Scott, where the pitch is coming and it looks like it's going to hit the batter, and then it just drops into that inside corner. I saw a couple of those, which was impressive, and then a couple of change-ups where the Jerome batters, not to pick on your school there, Scott, but they were kind of way out in front expecting that fastball.
Well, and that's he's the guy that you only see once a year, because in our conference, nobody's throwing like that. And so there's no comparison. He's just one of a kind. And, the thing that I think gets overlooked a lot about him is he's not just a pitcher, right? I mean, he's hitting over 400. He's the second leading hitter on their team. His defense is impeccable. He plays first and second, and his fielding percentage is 983. And he's an everyday lineup guy from 3 different positions, and he's flawless defensively, and you go back to his pitching is what everybody talks about, which is kind of why he's on the map right now. But in 20 innings, he's got 49 strikeouts. I mean, think about that. I mean, do the math, and to an inning, right? Oh, pretty close.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane. So, yeah, keep an eye on this kid. When he goes away to Gonzaga, he's going to be something special, I think.
49 strikeouts to just 6 walks, 4 hits allowed all season, Scott, which is just insane. That's an 0.70 ERA. That's microscopic. Yeah. So, yeah.
No, it's and that ERA is just somebody closing their eyes and swinging at a fastball and just happen to connect. He's most likely going to pitch in the West Coast League this summer for the team in Walla Walla, from what I understand. So, I mean, this kid knows what he's got to do to get to the next level. See, like, everybody wants to be great, but not everybody knows or wants to do what it takes to be great. And that's what separates this kid from the rest.
Yeah, Trey Morse, really special pitcher. The last guy from Idaho to go pitch from Gonzaga was from Rocky Mountain High School, Gabe Hughes, and he is in the Colorado Rockies minor league system right now. So we will certainly keep an eye on Trey Morse, not just at Gonzaga, but at Mountain Home the rest of the way here, Scott, because this Great Basin Conference, you've got Burley at 5-1, Twin Falls and Mountain Home are each 3-1. Now, Burley has not played either Twin or Mountain Home yet. So Burley could conceivably run the table, claim this conference title outright. You're like, well, where did Burley's loss come to? Came to Minico earlier this year. Twin and Mountain have played each other. They split. And I'm assuming, I could be wrong here, but Coach Shannon Wattis from Mountain Home, he did not pitch Trey Morse against Twin Falls in that doubleheader. I assume he doesn't want the Bruins, a well-coached team by Tim Stadelmeyer, to see Morse any more than they absolutely have to. And so Andrew Chapman got the win in a 4-3 victory. And then Landon Keener started the second game, and it was a 9-4 loss. But is it going to be Twin and Mountain? We know Twin, they've been to state like the last, 18 years? I mean,
1800 years. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like it. But that second team always seems to change, right? It was Jerome fairly recently. It's been Minico. Is it Mountain Home's turn?
You know what? I think it very well could be. I don't know. I mean, this one is really weird just because, Twin is Twin. They're very well coached, and they're always going to be relevant. Burley is having a fantastic year, and Mountain Home, well, we just got done talking about them. It's going to come down to pitching, and it always will be. Let's say you get your ace out there and you need the win. He's almost a guaranteed win, whether it's, Trey Morse or not, and they don't have their stuff. Now, all of a sudden, you're giving a win away in a game that you basically chalked up for a W, right? So it all comes down to pitching. And I don't know. We'll see what happens. And plus, the format this year is a little different too. So I don't know. It'll be interesting because now we have the state sanctioning baseball. We've got super regionals. We've got all these things that are going to look a whole lot different in the baseball world. And I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, for a reminder, the new super regional format, basically they're going to have districts as usual. You're going to have your 5 district champions. This would be at the 5A level. Most of the other classifications only have 4 districts, so it makes it a little easier, but there's going to be 4 separate 3-team super regionals. So you can think of state as having 12 teams advance. It's going to be the 5 district champions, and then whoever is next in line with max preps, right? And so, there's a couple that are based on representation too, and then there's some wild card slots that go to max preps. It's going to be really important to win the conference or the district tournament, because that means essentially, Scott, you get to host one of those super regionals. If you don't, then you got to go travel somewhere.
Yeah, it's really an interesting setup that we just got done talking about with the state AD conference, over the past couple of days, and the big concern that everybody's got with these super regionals is cost. Because you don't know where you're headed, and you've got to arrange hotel rooms. And so what we've been doing is just kind of arrange. If we know that we're hosting, we've already blocked off rooms for everybody. But here comes the expense. I mean, who's to say that it's not going to be a team like Preston that has to travel all the way to Sandpoint? There's not that regional stuff. I mean, it is just, here we are, super regional, max preps. You're here and you're here. And that's going to get really expensive. And so when all of this comes back around after the first year of doing it, I really believe that's going to be one of the very strong focal points that people are going to talk about, is the cost of this thing. I mean, the idea is fantastic, but is it feasible for high schools? I don't know.
I think in theory, you would host the super regional and then you would then advance to state. So you're only having to travel once. But let's say you are a second place finisher. You got to go travel somewhere for your super regional, and
right.
You do earn that spot to state. So the 4 separate 3-team super regionals, the 4 champions of those super regionals will advance to a 4-team state tournament to be held the following weekend. So it could be a lot of travel conceivably.
Right.
We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, we will. We'll wait and see, and then we'll analyze it and then try to make it better if we can. So, or the state will, because now they're in charge.
Yes. So, needless to say, winning the Great Basin Conference district tournament is going to be paramount to having a good shot at the super regional. So we will see there. Okay, Scott, let's pivot now to softball. And this is a story that we talked about last year during the softball season. It's a story that I think we'll always, go back and revisit at different points. But it was a really tragic event that happened to the Twin Falls High community last fall when Laney Morgan, who was in her senior year of high school, tragically died after being involved in a car accident. And so the processing, the grieving kind of took place throughout the fall and the winter, but then those wounds kind of got reopened in the spring because multi-sport athlete, but everyone knows that softball was Laney's real passion, and that was the sport that she really loved. And so last spring, we kind of showed you here on the Magic Valley Prepcast all of the things that Twin Falls High and the schools throughout the Magic Valley that played Twin Falls High were doing in honor of Laney. And then we showed you some of the pictures from her memorial service, which was held at the Twin Falls High School softball field. And so now we wanted to check back in a year later because the story isn't over. Laney's parents, her teammates, her community, and really the Magic Valley is doing a lot to ensure that we all continue to live like Laney.
Yeah, it is a story that just isn't going away, and as tragic as it is, you're always going to try to find something positive to take out of it. And, and I think that's what Tanya Burke and the Twin Falls Lady Bruins are really trying to do, is to find some positivity in something so tragic and allowing a memory to live on that meant something to them, as Laney meant to that program, and her parents involved. In fact, her dad is helping coach this year, and her mom runs a scoreboard. So it's like, well, what are we going to do? So they adopted a mantra, and it's, they put it on their shirts, and it's LLL, and it means live like Laney, and so there's a lot of little things that they're doing, and that's the first place I'll start.
Yeah, we've got a ton of photos to share with you here, so we'll kind of go through each section piece by piece and comment on them. First thing, Scott, is they got a new sign put up at the Twin Falls Bruins softball field that says, live like Laney, balls to the wall, because she slugged so many of them out to the wall. And of course, her jersey number 21, Laney Morgan. That's a beautiful sign. I really like that. Yeah,
it is. And the person that kind of made that happen was Laney's teammate, Molly Hodge, who sponsored or ran a home run derby for her senior project to help raise funds to do something, at the field in honor of Laney. And, there was a lot of moving parts to get this thing to come together, but it finally did. And according to, the girls, it's just nice to look out into the outfield and see number 21 surrounded by angels' wings and a halo, their own little angel in the outfield.
Pretty remarkable. The other thing a lot of people know about Laney is, of course, she loved her flowers. And so will be a common theme here. We've got these beautiful flowers that have the LLL, live like Laney. And then, Scott, not only are her Twin Falls teammates all wearing them in the back of their ponytails as they play, but it seems like every opponent that they come across has adopted this as well. I mean, here is, and we're guessing on the schools here, but I'm pretty sure this is Minico. This is one of Twin Falls' fiercest rivals. Here's Buell wearing the flower to the side. Here is Gooding. And it's not just the players that are in support. Look at this picture. A Gooding parent, Scott, has a Live Like Laney t-shirt on.
It is, and it is really cool to, sports teaches so many lessons, and it's the best ones are outside of the game. And, you're getting these kids to realize that there's some bigger things than, the game that they're playing. And anytime you can get those lessons is, that's what's going to stay with you. Nobody's going to remember the score of the Twin Minico game. My junior year, what did I do? I went 2 for 4. Nobody's going to remember that, but they're going to remember kind of the atmosphere and the feeling, and that's what's going on here, and it makes it pretty special.
Yep. We have Wood River supporting. This is, I believe, a player from Timberline High, because this extends beyond the Magic Valley, even where Laney played softball in the summer with girls from all over different parts of the state. So here is a girl from Timberline. Here's a Jerome Tiger, Scott. Even Jerome getting in on the act. And
yeah, absolutely. Twin is our probably one of our most hated rivals, but it is one of those things that we will put all that aside in a heartbeat and rally for them if they need us. And we did that with Sean Walker and his daughter, and we'll do it here. It doesn't matter, baseball's trivial when it comes to stuff like this. Yep. So, and just to kind of, another thing that they're doing really quickly is, whatever jersey they're wearing that particular day, they'll take Laney's 21 and they'll bring it to the dugout with them, and then they have 21 seconds of silence prior to the national anthem at their home games. And Coach Burke has actually put Laney on every lineup card she's done this season.
Wow.
Just another one of those things to kind of keep the memory with them,
Yeah, Scott, I want to draw on an experience you had at the state baseball tournament last year, the 2A tournament, where Orofino had a similar thing where their standout pitcher had passed away in August of that school year, and Orofino ended up winning the championship, and they brought his jersey out on a hanger as they were handing out the medals for winning, and got a medal, and it's a powerful, emotional moment for sure. But for somebody who hasn't seen that in person, I mean, kind of describe what that is like.
It kind of makes your hair stand on end just a little bit, because whether or not what you believe in or don't believe in, it almost feels like there is something there with you. And that could be just the energy of all the people that are believing in the memory of this person. But, kind of what we saw at Orofino, or I guess the Orofino game, was exactly that. And anytime you can get a group of kids to rally around something that's positive, like I said, even though it's a tragedy, it's going to bring them together, and it's going to make everybody's differences go away. It's going to kind of create these bonds that are going to last. And, I tell you, from the family that lost somebody, it means more than they could ever explain, because nothing's ever going to replace them. But just to see the effort that people are taking to show that they mattered. And I think that one thing in life that, we all want is to know that we mattered, because we don't know when we're going, we don't know how we're going. But when that time comes, we just hope people look back and say that person made a difference,
Yeah.
And so I think that's what's happening. Yeah.
Yeah. The other component to Twin Falls High and Laney's teammates this year is they were asked to write notes about Laney and how she has impacted them. So you'll see here, for example, we have really long letters. This is from her teammate Bree Holcomb. We have, to me, living like Laney. And the question was asked, how can you live like Laney? And so
right.
To me, living like Laney as a softball player means giving it your all every time you step on the field, not giving up on yourself or your teammates, even when things aren't going your way. It also means enjoying your time and using it to the fullest when you're playing. And then there were shorter messages, 2 to 3 sentences. What does it mean to live like Laney as a softball player? This is something Coach Burke had the players do this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they were all finished up here, Scott, they placed them all into her locker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So they just, in the clubhouse, they've got this, Laney, as you can see there, the plaque, and they put all those in there. And, they keep it in their locker, and it's a promise to each other that they're going to do the best that they can and enjoy the time that they have. And I think that's the lesson too. One of the many lessons too is don't take anything for granted, obviously, because you never know. And just like Laney and the boy from Orofino, you just don't know. So make every day count. And that's part of the message behind all of this.
Yeah. Here's a zoom out of what her locker looks like this year, or her cubby space in the clubhouse. All the notes on the top shelf there. There's her uniform as well. And then this is the memorial plaque, I believe, from her memorial service, if I'm remembering correctly, from last year. And then here are all of her teammates.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And this is going to go on and on for a long time. So now that she's kind of immortalized in that outfield with that sign, the story's never going away.
Yeah, pretty cool, pretty remarkable. So Scott, I had a chance to meet Laney's mother, Carrie, of all places, at Valley View High School during the boys basketball state tournaments earlier this year in March. And I was there covering the 2A boys state tournament. Valley was playing from Hazleton, and Carrie came up to me in between games and introduced herself, and I'm so glad she did. It was so nice to meet her, and I kind of asked her how things were going and what they were planning to do, for Laney with softball season coming up. And she said that one thing they've been doing is Laney was into these little rubber ducks. You see them for fundraisers and other things like that. And so they have been taking these rubber ducks all over to all of Laney's favorite places. They were going to go to one of the softball fields in the Boise area where she hit her first home run, I think, and they were going to put a rubber duck there. And so they've been going kind of all over and placing these rubber ducks all over. And then our conversation wrapped up. And then about half an hour later, she came back up and she actually gave me this rubber duck right here, Scott. Now my beard was a little thicker and a little fuller when I was talking to her. And then on the bottom, you can see it says, it's backwards on my camera. Hopefully you can read that. Live like Laney is what it says on the bottom. So if you happen to be in the Magic Valley somewhere and you happen to see a rubber duck like this, pick it up and see if it says Live like Laney on the bottom. I think that's pretty cool. That
is super cool, and it some people are going to look at this and go, gosh, why is everybody doing this? But it's a healing thing. It's a coping thing. It is something that just allows you as a parent to move on, and the people I feel for the most are the parents. A parent should never, ever have to lose a child ever. And it doesn't matter how old they are, how young they are. That has got to be the worst feeling in the world. It really does. And as a father of 3 daughters, I can't even fathom. I mean, it just absolutely crushes me to think about it. So yeah, whatever you got to do, whether it's ducks or angel's wings or sunflower, you do it. Okay. Because that kid meant something, and it's going to help you and the people around her heal. So yeah, go for it.
Definitely. Okay. Last thing to mention, Scott, is this summer, for the first time, we will have the first annual Laney Morgan Memorial Softball Tournament. This is going to be in June, at the end of June. So this will be out of the high school season. This will be for summer ball teams, basically. But they are going to have a tournament, 16U, and then an 18U tournament as well. And the proceeds are going to go to the Laney Morgan Scholarship Fund. And that's another mechanism where you can continue to keep Laney's memory alive and continue to live like Laney.
Yeah. Awesome. Really cool. And, it's going to be, and it's going to do good things. Again, you hate to see a tragedy at all, but man, talk about turning it into something that matters. Good for them.
Yep. So keep an eye on that. That will be in June. And if you are a summer softball coach and you're looking to be a part of it, the information's right there. You can contact Carrie at LaneyMorganMemorial@gmail.com. So that'll be a lot of fun this summer. So, yep.
For sure. And I know Jerome will have some teams there for sure.
Definitely. So, all right. Well, Scott, as always, it's been a pleasure to talk about these stories. It's not a pleasure what happened to Laney, but the fact that so many people now, not just at Twin Falls, but throughout the Magic Valley and really throughout southern Idaho, are all doing. It's almost like now there's 500 Laney Morgans walking around. That's the thing. When somebody departs, you always have a piece of that person with you. So,
You do, and it just kind of exposes your commonalities, not your differences, and everybody kind of bands together in a little bit different way, so there you go.
Yep. Pretty remarkable. So on that note, thank you for tuning in to the Magic Valley Prepcast, everybody. For Scott Burton, my name is Brandon Baney. We'll see you back here next week, where we will talk about a few more great things happening in the spring. A lot of good Magic Valley athletes doing a lot of great, incredible things. If there is something specific you want us to talk about here on the Magic Valley Prepcast, we are always open for ideas. You can send an email to myself, Brandon, at IdahoSports.com, or Scott at IdahoSports.com. And we would love to shine the spotlight on so many of these great young athletes doing great things in the Magic Valley.
Absolutely. Beyond the box score. That is what we're about. So tell us your stories and we'll do our best to represent them well.
For sure. All right. On that note, for Scott Burton, I'm Brandon Baney. We'll see you back here next week for another edition of the Magic Valley Prepcast on IdahoSports.com.